Alrighty, hello, good evening, and welcome to the first episode of the CREEDCAST in 2026. We've had a nice little holiday break, and I do hope that everyone out there had a happy new year, a Merry Christmas, happy holidays, however you celebrate your time at this time of year with your family, friends, that it was, nice and relaxing and a good energizing period to get us all ready for 2026, whatever that may bring. I hope it brings great life and energy for everyone out there, and we thank you for coming back to join us on the CREEDCAST. Looking forward to getting to Port Adelaide footy in 2026. It's a really, really exciting time, a new era, starting the CARR, all that good shit. A minor note before I bring Jamie in, I'm in the process of just adjusting how my internet handles the workload of podcasting. It's been a little bit dicey over the off season. The Zoom calls have gotten a little bit worse with my internet provider, so I'm working on that. But if there's any pauses, little garbles, internet goblins talking to you during the podcast, I do apologise, but hopefully it's at the minimum. We're hearing Jamie mostly loud and clear, but occasionally in a little offline chat pre-podcast, there's just been a little pause. So bear that in mind, but I'm hoping to have a little solution in the coming week before we get back to any more podcasting. But anyway, as I said, Jamie's back. Jamie's back for his third year on the podcast, which coincidentally means it's the third year that the podcast has been anywhere decent. So thank you, Jamie. Welcome back. Happy New Year and all that to you. Start the CARR in 2026.
Yeah, that's it. Hello, Dave. Hello, everyone. A happy New Year. Happy 2026. It's a year for renewed hope. And aren't we looking forward to it? Third year on the pod. So hopefully, there's plenty of people returning. Hopefully there's a lot of new people joining us. And if that's the case, welcome. Let's cross all of our fingers and toes that 2026 is a lot better ride than 2025 was. And hopefully we're in for a lot of positive surprises. Before I go any further, though, have to wish you a happy birthday for the other day. Was it Tuesday or Wednesday this week? Just gone.
I'm showing my age. I had to think about it for a second, but it was Wednesday.
Yes. Wednesday, yes.
Yeah, the 21st of January. I'm a little January baby, so yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How old are you? 22, 23?
Yeah, 22 and change. How hefty that change is, how heavy your pocket is, I'll leave that up to the imagination. Thank you. Feeling every bit of it at the moment with the workload over the off season in my day job. But it was a nice little celebration. As you're aware from pictures I sent you the other night, the hat I'm wearing for anyone on YouTube, the hat I'm wearing was acquired via buying 4 pints of Pirate Life South Coast at the local pub here. So 4 pints in one hit got me a free hat, and I thought that was a good deal, which I always get to. And then Jamie's just holding up a South Coast right now. So
my drink of choice tonight, that's for sure. Definitely cracking a couple of Pirate Life South Coast for Dave's birthday, as this is the first time we're seeing each other. We've exchanged text messages and whatnot throughout the weeks and weeks across the summer period. But yeah, first time seeing each other. So cracking a beer in celebration. Just a call back to everyone that listens to our Christmas pod, a very pairy Christmas, which we've done now. Yeah, the 2 times that we've been together as a duo on the pod. Just a little bit of fun, mostly a cricket podcast, as it was, I think, the first time we did it as well.
So much fun.
Yeah. So for everyone who does listen to our pod regularly but switches off of footy and maybe their podcast streams, feel free to go back and listen to it, or look out for it this coming Christmas at the end of this year. And hopefully we're much more chipper with a lot more Port success, and hopefully the Australian cricket team are doing just as well at the end of 2026. But let's not wish the year away. We've got a football season to get into first.
Yeah, we're in pre-season right now. That's why we're both drinking, getting the arms ready and limber for gather round in particular. No, it is a big season coming up, and we're going to keep it light tonight, talk about a bit of the training stuff and a few of the things we're looking to watch for this year before we go into a little bit more of a deep dive preview of how the squad's looking in a couple of weeks. But there's been some big news in the off season. But Jamie, I want to start with one thing and one thing only. The biggest recruit in the off season, Albie, the companion dog down at Alberton. First of all, just a great name. Love that they've gone with Albie. A little bit of like Alberton stuff going on there.
Yeah.
And it's funny, it's light, it's good fun. The pictures are great and all that stuff. But I actually do love that the club's kind of in the and I'm just trying to remember and her name at the moment. The clinical psychologist at the club, Dr. Jess Patterson, apparently the driver behind it. I love modern energy in trying to find every little fucking thing that you can do to make a club better and ultimately bring the ultimate success that we all want. We exist to win premierships, all that stuff. When we win our next premiership, maybe Albie won't come up much. Maybe it will. Maybe Albie will be on the dais. It'll be like the thank you Sal Saperstein thing from the studio. I don't know, but but
24th man.
Yeah, but I just love that the club's gone down this route. I mean, if nothing else, it does look like it's just a joyous little thing around the club. And but at a deeper level, and maybe someone listening to this is already going, "Oh, geez, you think reading too much into it?" But I do think clubs
woke.
Yeah, yeah. Dogs are woke. I think finding every 0.001% of stuff that you can do around the club to build the culture and build the energy, whatever that is good. If you're trying to find those little things, it's kind of like when people were criticising Premier League clubs for bringing in throw-in coaches. I think Liverpool are actually the ones to do that. So first time for that Claxon this year. But it ultimately did work, and for clubs doing things like this, I think they cited that the San Francisco 49ers and a lot of other high-profile programs, sporting programs around the world have done similar things. So, how did you feel seeing that fluffy ball of adorableness across the socials a couple of weeks ago, or whenever? I think maybe only a week ago. I'm not sure. Time is a flat circle.
I think it was longer than a week ago.
It might have been.
I have a feeling it might have even been before New Year's, to be honest.
I've had 3 days off in 4 weeks. So.
yeah. Look, I might be wrong there. Who knows? I mean, there's people who have only just been back at work for a week, for fuck's sake, and I know you'd be very jealous of them, and I am having to go back on the 5th myself. Mm-hmm. But look, I don't really look into it too deeply, but for me, you mentioned you love the modern part of sport, and getting the 0.001 or 0.01% extra out of everyone, and how. But I don't know. Maybe it's just another example of Port Adelaide doing something different, which I think we have a track record of across our history, not only in the AFL but in the SNFL, and to another extent, without getting again too deep into the topic, just taking a risk, like Port Adelaide in my mind. And don't get too woke. Dogs are woke. Lefty bullshit type stuff. But we just take risks, whether they're small risks or big risks. I feel that that's been a part of Port Adelaide again throughout its history, and it might not do anything. It might do something, but we're doing something different, and that's part of the reason why I love this football club. And I'm sure yourself and a lot of other people listening, we don't just love this football club because it's won 37 premierships. While that's very nice, there's other portions of how this club operates, and taking small, big risks, medium risks, doing something different outside of the box. It's part of it for me, and that's more kind of how I viewed it. It was just like, see how this works, we're out of debt, so we can kind of explore different things.
Yeah, I do like just off the cuff. I love that angle that we're out of debt, and it's like we bought a fucking dog. That's
dog, yeah. It's like a midlife crisis. I bought a Ferrari.
Yeah. We're not that out of debt, so we didn't get a Ferrari. We got a Labradoodle.
I didn't have a mountain.
Sorry,
I just had a newsroom.
Jesus Christ. I've been thinking about an Anchorman rewatch very imminently, so that's just perfect timing. Yeah, same brain stuff there. Veronica Corningstone and I had relations. I love it mainly because, like, I think on a deeper level myself, I was just thinking about it in the context of I love like mental health awareness in football is always brought up at sometimes at the wrong times. Like people, people
Hmm.
will start doing the like, why do we have this round when we should have mental health round? We should have mental health round. But I love a club just leaning
But
into
then
it.
they'll slide into someone's DMs and abuse them for whatever fucking crackpot thing that happened that week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's been a tough off season for that. But yeah, I just love that the club's just clearly got a modern approach to mental health awareness and trying to keep everyone happy, which is a good thing. Trying to keep your club as a good, happy, positive space, regardless of what's happening on field, is a good thing. So hopefully that,
Hmm.
along with everything else that's going on, which we'll get into imminently, is just kind of a good sign forward to for where this club is going. Um, Leadership group was announced as well, as another little just tidbit to hit on. I don't think there's anything surprising about it. I guess some might say, "Oh, it's interesting, Butters being in there, being the year the year that we clearly know is ahead for us on the Butters news front." But if you withdrew Butters from the leadership group, that would be more of a that would inject more of the shit into the maelstrom out there. So I think it's pretty. I mean, Drew's a popular figure around the club, obviously as the co-vice captain, Butters as co-vice captain, and Rosie as captain. Um, it's actually pretty straight down the line. Uh, Predictable for me. Obviously, Wine's on the senior end, like he's out of that kind of area now. Some of the other players that have been in and out of the leadership group, I think it's a very focused leadership group too. I can't remember what the exact makeup of the leadership group was now last year. Now that I think about it, but it feels like three. Like we've had leadership groups that have been larger at times. This is a very focused one in on two figures that are clearly talent and drivers behind us. And Drew's just a cultural figure and quite an important figure when he's given the right role as well. I think it's an important thing for Drew after an indifferent year last year, in particular. Rosie and Butters, those guys are going to be first names on the team sheet this year. Drew last year was a player that was up and down depending on what role he was given. It was a bit of an indifferent year for the club. Players like Drew, when the club's up and down, can find themselves, fluctuating in form. I think it's an important thing for Drew, an important thing for his new coach and Josh Carr to have recognised, seen what Drew does for the club and probably shows that his role is very, very much locked in. Not that I was too worried about it, but last year was an interesting year for Drew. So how did you feel when you saw that the leadership group announced?
Yeah, unsurprised for mine. There's a couple of points that you touched on there, which I do agree with. I have seen those comments about Zach Butters in relation to, oh, what's the point? Which I think is a very defeatist
Mm-hmm.
attitude, in my opinion. At the end of the day, we're a football club that is proud and prides itself on retaining players from wherever they are, or wherever they originate from across the globe, or Australia more specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you, yeah, like you said, if you're not giving him his the clearly deserved position of vice captain, oh yeah, what are you doing? Is what
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of thinking. He, like you said, first two people on the team sheet are kind of Rosie and Zach Butters. Zach Butters deserves to be vice captain. And again, we're going into 2026 with the aim, the men to stay.
Mm-hmm.
So he deserves to be vice captain. That's no surprise whatsoever. Willem Drew is interesting. Obviously, we're big Willem lovers. WD28, a big cult figure on this podcast, and I'm sure WD28 shirts and whatnot may still be available. I haven't checked the store in a while, if it's up and running, that is.
I need.
But
I'm gonna.
a good relic
The
of the
store,
past.
the store will get put back up. Yes, soon, but it might be up. I haven't actually looked at it for a few months, and I know that I need to
It's a
get.
good thing about make to order, is
Yeah,
that yeah, if it's up, you can buy a WD28 shirt.
yeah.
Anyway, digressing somewhat, but we do love him. We both are cognizant to the fact that he did have an indifferent year last year, and there would be a lot of people looking at him from the vantage point that he needs to earn his spot, and it's not guaranteed, because there is a bit of competition, both in the midfield broadly and the inside mid role. So, like you said, though, it obviously echoes the trust that Josh Carr has in him, and I would assume Stuart Dew being the midfield coach he's the midfield coach, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I suppose Connor Rosie, Zach Butters as well. They
Hmm.
perhaps have a say in the leadership group as well. So there you go. So another person makes sense
Hmm.
that he's not. Obviously, 2 years with an ACL. And while he said that the off-field stuff definitely uh, took over in terms of his proficiency in being a better off-field leader, but at the end of the day, we just want Peps focusing on his recovery and his return to football so that hopefully he can play the rest of the year from the moment that he gets back on the track.
Yeah.
Ollie Wines is obviously there around the place, but similarly to Travis Boak, once you cross that 30-year marker, you just if you're not a leader, you're not like you're delisted or you're in the SANFL. Um, Ollie Wines is definitely a leader of the club, whether he's got a label or not. So
Hmm.
that's immaterial for me. Leadership groups are can be somewhat just labels for the sake of being labels. I like a nice, clean three-person leadership group, and it makes sense. And yeah, just on Willem again, it echoes the team love and care for him
Hmm.
by the broader playing group.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll be very intrigued to see, once the season comes around, how Drew's, how his form goes, because I take it as a testament to the fact that he's very much obviously core in the plans for the club, not just as a he's going to be a leader on the field and off the field, and his hopefully his talents get kind of utilized to the max as the year goes on. But I mean, to the point of actually what has been going on, and it is weird to be in January and talking about footy. We're sweating our ass off in what could be a record Adelaide temps in soon to be. Jamie is braving the podcast recording with a little. If you're watching on YouTube, you might see him pop up with a little fan here and there. he's I'm a little bit. I'm probably a little bit lucky. I've got a ducted system that's blasting right down on me. So, but yeah, Jamie's braving some temps out there. So that fan working hard.
Yeah, my ducted system is in need of repair,
Yeah, yeah. So he's
so it's better off being off.
yeah. Yeah, so look at the fan thing is just great vibes. It's such an Aussie thing. It's just I love it.
Gosh, yeah.
Um, But yeah, we're sitting here in January, sweating our asses off and getting ready to talk about footy, which means we're talking about preseason training. The house is being, if a house could ever be trained down more, I don't think it could be. That's the word out of Alberton, and it's probably the word out of 17 other clubs at the moment too. But
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I look. January hope is just the spring that is eternal. It is wonderful, and I love January hope. It's a wonderful place to be. We're in a unique position, obviously, with a new coach and all the energies that are coming with that. It is interesting though. Like before we get into a few that might be impressing on the track, but some of the footage that's coming out of training, whether it be the wrestling videos, just some of the other things, there is a different energy, and whether it's because I'm looking for it, because I am a sucker for anything new that can teach me that this club is indeed Port Adelaide in 2026. Like I like anything that I can grab. So there's a bias to
Shout
it.
out to the pair.
Yeah, yeah, Lesiani down there at training, providing some good content. There is you do look for signs. You do want to find the signs. It's kind of like probably like people back in that saw spaceships coming out of the sky and being like that must be Jesus. Not to offend anyone, but ancient aliens fans out there as well. Just hitting all the conspiracy theories on one podcast. But I'm looking for signs as to why this club's going to win the premiership immediately in the Josh Carr era, and so you see just slight differences in how they're training, and go, yes, everything's going to change and we're going to win it. But bringing it back down to reality, where I should be instead of up there with the crazy people. How are you feeling about what you're seeing? I mean, the wrestling video for one thing, I just thought was great energy. There's some fierce tackling going on out there as well. There's some really good like hard hits happening on the track, and guys are looking. There's some guys that we know of as slender or just that are looking fit. I mean, it was always the Todd Marshall thing towards the back end of last year was one thing, but then you've got guys like Christian Moraes looking like they've added some tone and definition to a very skinny frame, and he's still a small guy, but. Yeah, how's your energy? How are you feeling about the signs out of it? Are you ready to join me in crazy land, or feeling a little bit more tempered?
Oh, I mean, AFL is one of Australia's biggest dog and pony shows, but also we're all nuffies, and that's we always get sucked in. Like you
Yeah.
said, 18 clubs right now are training the house down, and have never looked better. And that's the hope that we all strive for at this time of the year. While the Australian cricket summer has just finished, the Australian Open's on. We're starting to warm up to football because the AFL will certainly drop its news throughout the year and particularly leading up to the preseason. So, yeah, we're looking for signs. And it is funny. You mentioned the wrestling and things like that, and you want to be shown things. And I think it's what you're seeing, but it's also it's I don't know if it's a strategic thing, but it's what the club's showing you that they're doing too.
Yeah.
For all we know, a wrestling drill could have been part and parcel of every preseason for the last decade, but we just haven't seen it. I did see a comment that mentioned that this never happened under Ken's reign, which is just factually incorrect. Because I remember a lot of discussion in the 2013 and 2014 preseasons about some very heated wrestling. I think they went down to the Snake Pit, did it in sand as well. So yeah, that's what I mean. These things could have been, but yeah, again, the football club again doing things a bit differently. They did the succession plan, which, as we've discussed, won't bear its fruit even this year. It'll be truly judged at the end of Josh Carr's first contract, really, I believe. But then we've cleared the decks in terms of coaching and assistants and the back office, as it were. So yeah, we're doing things differently, and yeah, we want signs. I think one of the most obvious signs, and you mentioned it, is how the people that are going to be playing football look, and there are some standouts for sure. Obviously, in our Perry Christmas episode, I think I mentioned a few people that I was kind of looking at. You know, Ollie Lord looking very big and brutish. He just needs to transition that and find the ball on the field if and when he gets opportunities. Jackson Mead looks $1,000,000. I mentioned he looks a lot like Hamish Hartlett circa 2016, I want to say, with some long hair. And so it's hopefully he can have a good bounce back like Hammer did a little bit after that, because he did his ACL and then kind of came back, transitioned into a different role. And you mentioned some young guys, Moraes. All three of our 2024 recruits look like they've bulked up, and then some. Moraes, Whitlock, Berry all look like they've put on size and are filling a lot of people with a lot of hope, confidence, eagerness to see how that translates on match day.
Yeah.
Even a preseason match would be nice to watch right about now. I wouldn't wish that upon them, probably in 45-degree heat. But that's the kind of satiation that we all strive for when we start seeing things like match sims and scratchies and people shifting a lot heavier tin than they have the year prior.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of those, the three recruits in particular from the previous draft, which are the last players drafted in the national draft to the Port Adelaide Football Club at this point. I mean, Moraes was a very slender figure last year, but clearly it didn't hinder him too much in play, like as far as like him being able to play footy. But like there was some tackling, not the wrestling drills, but just some tackling in some of the little Instagram reels that Port Adelaide were posting where there was a lot of good sound to it. Like I wanted to put it on my surround sound system at home and just listen to the bodies hitting each other. Just slapping bodies, and number 11 that Christian Moraes is now.
Slap and tickle?
Yeah. Just slapping into bodies, and just like there was some good energy in that, and there was like, Whitlock's taking some big marks in the match sim the other day. Joe Berry's kicking goals, which is so, and Joe Berry's looking good from all accounts. You mentioned the pair before, Anthony Alessiani, who always does great work. He was down there and said Joe Berry was looking really good, and he's kicking goals. Whitlock's kicking a couple. These guys are looking. It is really, really good to see those three players that we're all like for different reasons got a lot of excitement about out of that previous draft, looking good. And then you've got those players that are in that interim. Ollie Lord looking good is really good, is just fantastic because particularly with we've kind of had the question answered about some of the forward line stuff already with the fact that Todd Marshall is moving back, and I guess a good time to transition to that. Obviously, we've talked about it a bit in the back end of last year once that news started to come out, but Todd Marshall being a backman and all reports are, and some of the footage I've seen, like just it's hard to take too much from little Instagram reel bits because, again, like you said, it's what the club's releasing. So you've got to take it as a grain of salt, like once until we see a full spectrum, whether it be preseason games or just watching games and seeing how he handles situations that are obviously in the heat of battle, but just his obviously good intelligence with his kicking and his marking and all those things that he can do, having the forwards intelligence going back, it does look handy, and he does look like he put the work into his body when he could while he was recovering from the Achilles injury. Obviously, he couldn't do a lot lower body, but he put the energy into his upper body and has done the work across a year that was probably quite tough for him with the injury. And it's one of the most exciting. That's probably the most intriguing thing for me this year. Particularly, our defense is probably the biggest point of flux for me. The forward line is a little bit as well, but I think the defense is the biggest point of flux because Aaliyah is aging, still probably going to. I think he's going to have a great year. And this isn't get too previewy, but it's talking about Todd. Brandon Zerk-Thatcher had an indifferent year last year after a good first year. Asava exploded last year. We still need to probably want to see more data for Asava to know it's real. But I'm excited for Asava this year. But Todd going in there there is some flux involved in the defense, and if Todd can go in there, be as fit as he looks right now, he's going to be a new recruit. It's probably the most intriguing plus also exciting thing for me this year, among many things. But because I love Todd Marshall as a guy, as a person, I've loved him as a forward. To see him reinvent himself, if he can, to be a key pillar down there is going to be exciting. And all signs in preseason are that he's taken the role, like he's taking it, like he's like, I am that guy now.
Yeah, one of the biggest surprises to come off the back of season 2025, after the kind of trade and draft period, for anyone who follows the Creed or myself on Twitter, we'll see kind of the best 23s that I put up.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I was looking forward to a bulked up Todd Marshall returning to the forward line with the fact that Mitch Georgiades and Jack Lukosius are kind of the hybrid types. So I felt like it could still work. We need goals. And there was word of, Todd being trialed back. And I think I even said, I'll be a monkey's uncle if Todd Marshall ends up as a defender. He's actually still listed on the Port website as a key forward, funnily enough. But it is very interesting. And it definitely throws a cat amongst the pigeons when you think of the three pillars from last year and you think of them at their best. Obviously, Aaliyah speaks for himself. Asava probably had his best year as a defender, if you can kind of say that, while having his injury interruptions throughout the season. And then Zerk-Thatcher had an indifferent year, but if we think of his first season with us, was quite formidable. And he did have some decent games last year. Obviously, the delayed start hindered him. So you think of them three at the best, and you kind of think, with Todd Marshall, it probably ends up too tall. So, again, things that I've mentioned before is not being jealous of the people having to select the team, because hypothetically, if everyone's fit, where does he fit? Albeit, obviously, having a role to play in the eyes of the coaches. It is going to be one of the biggest watches and fascinations as we head into this season. Because while everyone's hopeful and we can all kind of see the pros about it, like you said, his football IQ, the fact that he can take a good mark, he can read the play. Typically, being in defence may avoid some of the concussion worries. I'm not sure,
Mm,
but also it could not work. And how does the team adjust for that? Are they already behind closed doors not making contingencies as if they expect them, but I would hope that there's a fallback in case, like just straight off the bat, if Alira Sava and Zerk Thatcher are all playing at a high level, they're all defenders. I know Asava has moved that back there, but he's more experienced than Todd is in that
mhm,
region of the field. If they're all in form, I don't know how you could possibly put Todd Marshall there at the expense of any of the three. So I'm fascinated. I hope he does do well in whatever role he is given, because, like you said, Todd's a great person, a great representative of the football club, and just due to personal issues, obviously the devastating loss of his parents while he's a young player in our system, and then some of the concussion and injury worries more recently, it's just been a total roller coaster of a career so far for
mm,
him. 2022 is when we got what we thought was the Todd that we'd been waiting for, and yeah, and hasn't been able to get back to that for various reasons. So
mhm.
I am very intrigued. I will be a monkey's uncle by the looks of things. But and like every football season is a squad mentality. It has to be these days. So he will get chances. It's just the nature of the beast. Hopefully, from an injury point of view, we're nowhere near where we were on that front compared to last year.
Mm,
But there'll be chances for everyone, quote unquote. Obviously, hopefully not everyone, because that means we are closer to last year's injury troubles. But there will be opportunities throughout the season, and hopefully he performs well. Hopefully, he gives a good account of himself.
yeah. I mean, we did see last year with a couple of guys in the back line struggle with injury at different times. So you never know. And you got guys like another one that's been spoken of in that preseason. You spoke of him last year as well. Like Xavier Walsh is a guy that was impressive looking last year, and obviously got a season-ending injury early in the year. So there's a bit of
Yeah.
depth potential in that back line, but it's incredibly exciting. It's still just exciting times to be looking at a team in preseason, mostly fit. Obviously, we've got guys like Lockie Jones. I think was light on training. Speaking of backliners, Brandon Zek Thatcher was in light work in the training sessions during the week. I think with a bruised heel. Jason Horn-Francis has obviously come back from some foot issues, and Sam Bapepper's had you mentioned earlier that a little bit of a clean out on the knee, and which isn't meant to delay his return too much, but still, you look at SPP as a guy that's just, you're probably just not even thinking about him as far as your best 22, 23s for this year at this point, and he's kind of just going to be like a bonus recruit whenever he comes back. But yeah, overall, it's just nice seeing guys. It's really, in particular, the young guys. Even just Ewan McKinley. I saw a picture of him the other day. He looks toned and fit, and like these are young, and the other guy, like some of those guys we got in the mid-season draft last year, is just it's exciting seeing those guys. It's exciting seeing a lot of guys that I remember. You have your picture of them from last year, and then across 3 months of off season, there's a little bit of bulk put on. Even I think. Alessiani, I think it was Alessiani and the pair mentioned Butters looking a little bit more bulked up. To me, he just looks the same. But if he's in person, for those that have been to the training sessions, looking even more bulked up, then that's scary because Butters is one of those guys that doesn't need to look bulked up to be to be the scariest guy on the field. So
To be a wrecking ball.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if he's just put a little bit of work into his body to add that extra 0.01% that Albie's adding to the club, then like that's some good gear. So yeah, do you have any more notes out of the preseason so far that you've seen, or it's exciting times? As I said, January hope is wonderful.
Absolutely. No, Ewan McKinley was a good shout as well. He's definitely drawn the eye of a lot of people
Mm,
over the off season. And with the lack of draft picks and then the pushback from people like ourselves in the fact that we did go hard at the mid-season draft and we're obviously looking forward yada 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 at the next draft cycles.
Hmm.
Again, less 22. So we all know that there's an open wing spot and there's a few guys who are clearly battling and he's looking very good, and I think he's even been mentioned by definitely Andy Collins in
Hmm.
his interview. Well, it might have been November last year. Mentioned him by name, and I think there might be one other coach or person around the club, maybe a player in a radio interview, has mentioned him. So he's obviously impressing. He's clearly put in some hard yards with his first full preseason with an AFL club. And we have a fairly decent record with mid-season draft picks, so hopefully he can follow in that regard and stake his claim on an open wing spot.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And there's a few guys out there like Jacob Ware's come into the club and he's kind of
Hmm.
a prototypical wing as well. So there's a few guys that are kind of we've got a lot of players that are kind of getting shifted around between whether it be the halfbacks that have been played on the wing a little bit and different players that have been There's actually while some there's been some talk about a few too many list cloggers on our team. There's a lot of guys that we also have some hope for that if they can hit kind of that the best form that they possibly do have, that they can kind of be very, very good footballers in a Port Adelaide system that will hopefully be running well. And if injuries, injuries are also always the thing you just can't account for, and how deep an injury crisis gets is always the test of the depth. But if we can remain reasonably fit, then I think the depth is there for some flexibility in this side. Let's have some fun for this last half hour or so of the episode. Far too early, obviously. As I said, it's January 24th. We're still just talking about. I mean, we're at a point where we don't even know who's playing off the Super Bowl yet. I'm sitting here with a Julian Edelman jersey in the background because surprisingly, my Patriots are in the final, in the conference championships games, which is wild. And yeah, shout out to friend of the pod, Eddie Corns. He's not aware yet, but he's going to get a message very early Monday morning saying "Go Patriots." Hopefully, as my Patriots and Eddie's Broncos face off for the AFC Championship. So, yeah, it is wild to be doing. So, it is a wild time to be doing predictions for the AFL season, as we're not even sure who's going to be playing off the Super Bowl yet. Those who follow AFL footy but don't follow the NFL are like, what is that an analogy? But we get it, and that's the main thing about this podcast is that we enjoy this. But yeah, it is far too early to be doing big predictions. But first of all, Jamie, I wanted to start with one. It's an easy one to get into it, but I'll ask you first, and then whatever answer you give me, I'll give you an alternative. But who do you think at the end of this year is going to be our Port Adelaide's leading vote getter in the Brownlow medal? It's a nice little easy one for you to start off with, but there's a few options, I think, and I think
Oh yeah, oh
whatever you
yeah,
give me, I'll be able to come back with something that I can as an alternative, just to keep the content flowing.
yeah. And we obviously have to assume that everyone is going to be fit for the whole year or enough of the year to gain
I mean, this is
plenty of votes.
the poison chalice
This
of
is the
this whole
January
game.
vote.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I mean, part of me wants to just exclude Zach Butters because it's a very easy pick.
yeah.
Um, and look, again, if we're all fit, if the team's going half decently, we just need to make 10th now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Wild
so,
card round, baby. I'm a
um,
big fan.
yeah, yeah. Zach Butters should get a lot of votes, but I
Mm-hmm.
think there's a few people rolling around in my mind. But I'm going with Miles Bergman.
Ooh.
I'm going with Jason Bergman. I'm having an each way bet. No. Um,
Uh,
I am going to go left field, and I'm kind of excluding Zach Butters just to make it interesting.
mhm.
But I think Miles Bergman could be in for a very good year. He may. I don't know how he ended up in the votes last season with his kind of introduction to the midfield group.
Mm.
And there's obviously the lingering note of how well Jason Horne-Francis polled in his first season with us or
Yeah,
his second season with us.
it was the first. I think it
Some
was
low possession games.
the 13 possessions,
Um,
3 votes game or whatever it was, or maybe it was 2 votes. I can't remember. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. But I think he got three. And
yeah.
I think that's why he drew the ire of a lot of people around the AFL community.
Look,
Uh,
when you look that good playing footy, like what can we say?
I know. When you look like Dangerfield reincarnate and you can use the ball better than him.
Yeah.
Just on him though, I think it's important. I really hope that this foot problem is sorted out and is being well managed.
It needs to be
Because
managed
part of,
meticulously.
yeah, but I also don't want to expect too much of him. That's just on a personal front. Others can do what they like.
Hmm.
But I'm just trying to keep my powder dry because, I mean, we saw it last year with people with delayed pre-seasons and or lack of pre-seasons or interruptions and things like that. It is yeah, people talk about it in the industry all the time about how important a preseason is and when it is affected, how that can flow on into the season proper. And we all know that JHF doesn't need a lot, or I'll rephrase it, he can have a high impact in shorter bursts of a football game than other people
Hmm.
across our team and across the league. Which is great because I'm just keeping my powder dry on the fact that he may not have that upper echelon season yet. And
Hmm.
again, he'll be what, 22, 23,
Yeah.
depending. I don't know when his birthday is. I'm not quite sure how old he is right now at this very moment. Um, but again, we expect a lot of him. The AFL industry expects a lot of him. We traded the world. This was a topic again, just off the back of last year's trade period or draft, the acquisition period. I think it was Josh Jenkins on SEN, probably just looking to fill time, asking for JHF to explode, and we traded the world for him to be this gun. And I think myself and a few other Port supporters made the point of we traded the world, quote unquote, for JHF for him to be an out and out gun from the ages of 25, 26
Yeah.
onwards, not 22. So there's still plenty of time for him. The foot is a bit of a concern for this year. I'm not concerned holistically, like for the
Hmm.
future, but I'm just trying to keep my powder dry on him. But
Yeah.
to revert back to your question, I'm going to go Miles Bergman.
Yeah. I was expecting you to go Zach Butters, and then I was going to go Jason Horne-Francis. So I like what you've done there, and I'll still stick with Jason Horne-Francis. I think Zach Butters is kind of like clubhouse leader, so we can kind of go to other options. And you've made a very very cognizant point about where Jason Horne-Francis is. It's a concerning injury. It's not a concerning injury for the long term. I think a foot injury like this can be fixed and managed and not be a burden on the future of Jason Horne-Francis, but it could be a burden on the season of 2026 for Jason Horne-Francis, which is what we're talking about now. So you are correct in not wanting to put that onus on him to be our Brownlow vote leader, and then if we're playing decent footy, then that means being a decent footy player as well, and all those things that come with it. He is a player that attracts the votes when he does play half decent, as we've just alluded to in his first year, and the memes that came out of that. So he is a player that attracts the eye that way. To your point, he is 22 at the moment. He turns 23 on the 21st of June. So his birthday is the middle of the season every year. You made a very very good point about what we traded for, though. It was I've been doing this a lot with and second Liverpool klaxon, but the Florian Wirtz
Mm.
discourse this year has been interesting with Liverpool because and for me, watching Florian Wirtz was very, very good right from the off. Obviously indifferent at times, but and for those that are listening, Florian Wirtz, player that Liverpool bought for a 115 million pounds or a euro. I can't remember. Either way, it's in the hundreds. So we're talking big money. People will understand that in the transfer window stuff in soccer. Um, and obviously, with that comes an expectation of immediate results. And his goals and assists weren't heavy to start with, and it was bringing some memes and all that stuff. But and people were saying like, where's the immediate results? We paid this much money for him, like to bring immediate results. And my thing's always been those transfer fees. And Fire Inverts is 22 years old, so you're paying for the intelligent response to that is you're paying 115 million for both the the star quality that they have now, but you're also paying for the age 25 onwards, because you're paying for a 7-year contract, you're paying the transfer fee to get the rights to that contract for the advanced years. So that's why there's an extra bit of money on there, and that's to bring it back to Jason Horne-Francis. That was a very good point you made, because you traded the world, and again, quotation marks, because it really wasn't that bad for Port Adelaide, I don't think. To bring in Jason Horne-Francis, the number 1 draft pick from the year before, and he's been very, very good for us since, and he's going to get even better. Again, age 24, 25 onwards. He's 22 now. He's turning 23 this season. He's already been a world beater and a game winner for us at times this year. A game winner in his last game that he's played for us against West Coast on a broken foot. He was winning the fucking game for us. So this is a player with incredible, incredible stuff. So yeah, I'm going to stick with him as my Brownlow vote leader at the end of this year. I think it's the Jason Bergman line. That's what we've got. If we're excluding Zach Butters, you've gone Bergman, I've gone Jason.
I'm Miles Bergman.
Yeah.
That been ever.
Sorry, I broke up for a second there. Well, you were probably making a very, very good point. So,
oh no, I was just saying the kick it forward video of Jason Bergman, Miles Horse,
so good.
Francis is worth a watch just every few months.
Yeah.
More.
We're recording this on the Saturday night, the 24th of January. I'm probably going to work tomorrow, and I'm going to probably release it on the 26th. On that day, after the podcast episode is released, and I've posted the social sharing of it, I might reshare the Kick It Forward video of the Jason Bergman, Miles Horne-Francis stuff in the stories, just so you know what we're talking about, because it's very, very good comedy that Jason Horne-Francis and Miles Bergman did a very, very good job of being involved in. Yeah, that's great. Leading goal kicker, we could do a similar exercise and be like, exclude, I think... let's do that. Let's go. Mitch Georgiades is clubhouse leader, right? Like, we think his season last year was incredible. We talked about it at different times. I think we had an episode at one point where I dove into the chances that he's had both in open play and set shots, and he was pretty much in some ways comparable to Jeremy Cameron. Numbers down a bit, but some of his numbers were pretty up there. If he gets the same opportunity and stays fit, then he's probably our leading goal kicker. So let's exclude Mitch Georgiades, and I'll throw to you again. Outside of Mitch Georgiades, and it's a very, very interesting question this year. We've had Willie Rioli retire, who was, often up there in the second place. Sam Powell-Pepper over the last couple of years has been up there a little bit, but we haven't had a good second fiddle to our leading goal kicker over the last couple of years. So it's an interesting question. We've got some new guys in there. There's different guys coming through. There's obviously, the unknown question of a few tools that could be around Mitch Georgiades. So I'm interested to see, with you getting the pick here, who you think might be the leading goal kicker if it's not Mitch Georgiades.
Jaden Stevenson. I say in jest. Yeah. No, very interesting. And I guess that's part of the preseason chat. I don't know about anyone else, but my vibe right now is that he's kind of falling over at the last hurdle. I don't, because it
does feel that way,
I don't think he, because by all accounts, he was training that proverbial house down prior to Christmas. But what was it? He didn't participate in the match sim
apparently so.
Yesterday, Friday, 23rd of January. And he didn't sorry, and then he had low possession kind of numbers in the match sim whenever that was a couple of weeks ago. So ominous
Hmm.
points still stand from Perry Christmas if he does get his shit together, and we can attain a 30 goal quality forward for free. You'd be silly not to, in my opinion. But the vibe does kind of seem like it's shifted a little bit, which in his regard is a bit sad. But you know,
I trust the coaching staff
it
of.
is what it is.
I mean, we can run through.
Yeah.
Let's just a quick note. Coaching staff as a reminder, since it is a going into a new year. Obviously, Josh Carr, head coach; Andy Collins, director of coaching; Stuart Chu, senior assistant and midfield coach; Luke Webster, backline; Darren Reeves, forward line; Hamish Hartlett, contest stoppage opposition; Matthew Loby, head of development; Jacob Surgeon, development midfield, and the Sandford coach
Yes, Serge.
Cam Sutcliffe, development; Mitch Clisby, development. When you see all of those names that I've just read out, and if they all come to the conclusion that Jaden Stevenson isn't worthy of the spot, then I agree with it. If they all come to the conclusion that he is worthy of the spot, then I'll take their judgment on that too. Like that's where I'm at with Jaden Stevenson. I'm like, if he makes it, then all of those guys I trust at the moment, obviously. So that to your point, like if he makes it, it doesn't bother me. If he makes it, I'm going to be excited. If he doesn't, then I'm going to be like, well, I'll trust those guys that they saw something that he wasn't worth picking up. So yeah, sorry to interject.
And they saw something
Yeah,
in the people that we do end up selecting.
exactly. Yeah.
Because I think again the vibe suggests to me that we won't leave a midfield season spot available. It seems like we're going to fill those
Mm,
two spots, which is interesting. And yeah, like I agree with you. The people that you listed in our back office, the majority, if not all of them, seem like they're not going to take any shit.
yeah, and
So,
obviously Ben Rutten in
um,
there at the GM of football as well, like, and then all the other people around it.
absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
There's
Wow, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, since we spoke about it last, I suppose.
it's a
He's been
weird
on
thing,
radio
like
a couple of
to
times late
remind
last year.
ourselves where we're at now, because
Yeah.
I still picture like press releases with Chris Davies' face and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, we've become so accustomed to it.
yeah.
He was part of the furniture for over a decade. So
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. But points to a stand. Like a lot of those guys, well informed, and pretty straight shooting characters. So yeah, totally agree with your point. To get back onto the question at hand though,
Hmm.
if the season goes how I hope and think it goes, then Jack Lacosta should be our leading goal kicker with
Hmm.
Mitch Georgiadis put to one side. He kind of holds the key to our success. We need goals. We seriously struggled last year, obviously with the amount of turnovers that we made, but
Hmm.
Georgiadis was on an island, and like when it comes to Jack Lukosius, who was injured for the largest portion of the year, and Willie had his troubles, and all the love to Willie. Hope he's doing great in his retirement.
Hmm.
Uh, One point that I made several times last year was that the exposure that we got with Jack Lukosius and Mitch Georgiadis together in the same team didn't work to the detriment of either of them. They
Hmm.
both had the ability to impact. Mitch still had his 4 shots on goal that we expect a week, more often than not when they were both together. And that does fill me with confidence this season in hopes that A, Jack Lukosius is fit for the majority of the year, um, and B, with that point that I just made in mind, them two working in tandem will go a long way to us having a fruitful 2026. So in that regard, Jack Lukosius is my selection with Miss Georgiadis put to one side.
Yeah, yeah. Mitch Georgiades
We're
clubhouse.
kind of doing we're kind of doing like the second
Yeah,
instead of doing our
it's.
highest. Who's
I mean, it's an
your
exercise.
second pick?
It came organically because I thought you were just going to go with Butters, and then you said, "Well, let's put him aside." And I thought that's a good exercise. So, um, it's hard to go. I
Sorry,
like.
sorry, sorry. Just before you
Mhm.
go, because yeah, I think we all are thinking Zach Butters for Brownlow, but I think we all are thinking Mitch Georgiades is the leading goal kicker, and I think that's the case because he's a fucking gun,
Yeah,
and every for all the reasons that he kicked the amount of goals that he kicked last year should flow on for all intents and purposes this season. He
Mhm.
works hard. He's too quick for larger defenders. He's too strong for slender defenders. So he works and works. And he was even in the midfield in the match sim. So in that regard, he should be our leading goal kicker this year. Obviously, having WA State of Origin um, opportunity as well. So
Yeah.
credit to him. Well deserved. I'm really looking forward to Mitch's year.
Mhm.
That goes without saying,
Yeah.
um, because he's a talented young man who we kind of took a punt on in his draft year, and everything that he did last year should touch wood flow onto this season.
When you consider last year was a year that this team was felt like a dysfunctional sitcom family unit at times. The fact that he was able to put together that year, having missed a few weeks to start with, like it was, yeah, a lot of things going against him.
It probably would have been helpful to have a laugh track
Yeah, yeah.
on some of our games. It would
For
probably
some of
would have
those moments,
made
you and
things a
I were in
little
the stands,
easier
and
to digest.
yeah, like you could have just replaced Jamie's. What the fuck are we fucking doing with like a laugh track? Would have been pretty like. Was it? There's some of those games that the Sydney game stands out as one of those ones that would have been laugh track worthy.
Uh,
Yeah, there's a lot of that in that.
better left forgotten. Well, but
Yes,
as well as that, for Port Adelaide's overall performance, but also Joel Amarty's just penchant to kick behinds that day as well. It
ironically, we were
was
laughing
ridiculous,
at the end of that
Jerry.
game. We lost, and we were still just like, "That was fucking hilarious." So, oh, reverse Amati party! What a time that no one will remember, apart from those that were there, suffering through that. Yeah, look, I don't know where to go with my leading goal kicker because if we're obviously removing Mitch Georgiades, you've gone with Lukosius. I don't think I can go a third tall in there, so I'm like, I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna
You,
go into
you
the.
can go the same.
No, 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 but
Doesn't
that's not
have
good.
to be
That's
different.
not good content. So I'm gonna be contrarian for the extra click or two that it might get. Look, it's an interesting exercise to do because often Port Adelaide has someone in the small forward department that pops up and has a good year in goals, and I want to find someone. It is an interesting year though because we've lost obviously Willie Rioli. The small forward department is suffering, but I also don't think it's up like we've got guys coming in. I'd love to see Corey Durden just come in and kick 20 or 30 this year and just be that guy as the small forward. No, I don't want him to blow the lights out. I'm not saying I'm putting any pressure on him. I just think he looks good. He's happy to be home. Seems to be settling in quite well. If he, I don't know if he's. So yeah, I'm predicting. I guess for the exercise, I'm saying yes, he will be a leading goal kicker outside of Mitch Georgiades. If he's just there and thereabouts, around the second, third, fourth spot in our goal kicking, I think that's going to be a good sign for our season. I don't know what that means, and I'd love to see Joe Berry or Joe Richards be that guy too. I don't know which one it's going to be. We've actually got some
Hmm.
promising guys in there, but Joe Richards played an interesting role last year where he'd run through the middle a little bit. Um, Joe Berry, I think, has that future in him as well. I think Joe Berry, when he plays, will probably play closer to goal, high half forward, that kind of stuff. Um, so I'm just picking Corey Durden just because I think he's going to be that. He might take over a little bit more of that, whether it's the Willie Rioli style place or those kind of roles. Obviously, I'd love to pick Sam Pepe. He's not going to be in there for a half a year, half a season at least. Darcy Byrne Jones is another one you could pick, but I'm not sure. So of where he's going to fit in, if we're fitting in the Durdens and the Berries and the Richards and those different players and where they're going to fit in. So there's a lot of talent in those areas and there's guys that could fill small forward roles, small medium forward roles. A lot of talent there, a lot of names. Durden's come in. The club seems to be excited for him. It's excited to have him. He's kicked a couple of goals in the last match to him, I believe. So, and they seem to be excited about how he's integrating into the side. So that's just going to be my dark horse pick, little dark horse comics pick for someone that could spark up this year. If he kicks 20 or 30, that would be an incredible debut season for him. I hope the best for him. I'm excited for him coming in as like a trade period that we weren't really expecting much from, apart from hoping that we weren't going to suddenly lose Butters. Not that you and I were expecting that at all, but because it would have been silly. But that was the talk from the talking heads. But we ended up, getting Durden in, and obviously Brody and Ware as well. But yeah, I'm just as Durden was the one that came out of nowhere that no one was really knowing of, and I've been excited for it since because I a little bit I've seen of him. I've just liked the way he moves, so that would be one I'd love to see pop up there in the goal scoring charts for us this year.
Yeah, I'm eager to see how he goes as well for the same reasons as you are. It was a surprise and something that we've spoken about every kind of January, February when we've been doing this as a duo is just how well Port Adelaide seems to do with getting the best out of people that we do bring in. And there's a lot to be said about players coming back home, as it were, being an SA lad, now being recently married to his wife and being around friends and family. Hopefully, that's a recipe for success for him
Mm-hmm.
because there are opportunities, like you mentioned in the small midfield role, small forward role. Sorry, ample opportunity upcoming.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The next one I want to ask you, out of I guess the crop of youth and whatever you count as youth, I trust your judgment. So it could be, anyone that's been drafted just last year, or maybe someone that's been in the system for a couple of years but hasn't quite hit the regular in the AFL yet. Who's your guy this year that you're looking to take just a massive, like, oh well, I don't know what massive leap is whatever you count that as, but who are you looking to take a leap as a young player this year, out of the maybe first to 4 year players, so to speak?
Yeah, good call. Yeah, first to 4 years probably a good bracket. There's probably a couple of guys that need a bit of a breakout.
Mm,
Tom Tom and Anastasopoulos is probably a big one
yeah,
because there's a lot of people surprised that he hung around on the list. This isn't my pick, but I'm going to give a shout out to Logan Evans, another
yeah,
one who looks like he's hit the gym very well, hit
mm-hmm,
the gym hard, I should say, and had clearly had his second year troubles. He was a mid-season recruit and played every
mm-hmm,
game from that point on in season 2024, which filled us with a lot of confidence coming into last year. But young players, he's a very young player. I'm looking forward to his season, and I think he could have one of those years that you're talking about. And again, I probably should leave this until you said it, but I'm just going to give another shout out to Joe Berry, who may well
mm-hmm.
be your pick, because he has drawn the eye of a lot of Port fans, and he does look like he's had a good preseason. But I'm going to go adjacent to that, and I'm going to go Christian Moraes
Mm-hmm.
because I think I get out of the three draftees, I think he went about his business in the right way every time he took the park last year. I think he's kind of being slept on a little bit just because we've got kind of people everywhere that haven't a question mark or some interest in them in certain regards. And he looks like he's put on size. He's clearly got a good footy IQ. Obviously, it'll depend what Josh Carr and the broader coaching group think of him and where he sits in the best 23. Extra bench spot, not being a sub this season, could aid him depending on where we go from week to week with our selections. But I'm very keen to see how Christian Moraes flourishes this year with what we saw last year.
Mm-hmm. I love that pick. That and Moraes was actually going to be my pick for that too. I think I meant to bring this up last year, and I don't think I actually got to it. But something I noticed last year at different times, whether it be in club social media channels and videos they posted, or indeed when I was down at the last training session that Travis Boak took part in, and Boakey obviously spent a lot of time signing autographs of fans around the field and everything like that. And Moraes was one of the ones running around doing photos and stuff as well. And there's a lot of chat between Moraes and Boak and genuine mateship between those two. And some of the stuff I saw in videos last year, it seemed like they had a good connection. And I love that Christian Moraes has taken number 11 this year. Obviously, the closest number available to Travis Boak. I don't know if there's anything in that. It could just be me making up something in my brain. But Number 11 was available. Number 10 obviously wasn't. And I don't know if Moraes would have said, yes, I'll take number 10 if it is available. But I just love that he's gone for a number, like he's changed number immediately, gone for number 11, which is a is a key number in a squad sheet. It's a key sign that the club sees him as a part of the future, and that he possibly sees, well, not possibly, but he sees him, he sees his talent as going forward in this club. And just what I saw in that, just some of the video, I can't even pinpoint moments in social. I just remember seeing just different parts that I was just like, Boak and Moraes clearly have a connection, and Boak's mentoring this guy. He's taking him under his wing a bit last year, and certainly in moments I saw when I was at trainings and seeing the way they interacted with each other just gave me that impression. And so he's had the best first year in the AFL. He's gotten his experience. He kicked a goal in a close game, that GWS one. That was incredible. When he came, I think he came on a sub and had like two touches, and one of them was a goal. And like,
and that was his first goal, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah, he celebrated. Yeah. He celebrated well
because he teased us so often leading up to that
he passed off a couple of times, or just missed one here and there. But he passed off a couple that he could have kicked, I reckon. But he took the moment well, I think, in a game that was a bit of a slogfest, but he gave us a highlight there. But yeah, I love that pick, because that's one that I'm really intrigued to see how he goes on this year. We obviously touched on it at the top of the episode that he was a very slender bloke when he came in last year as a draftee. And he's a guy that was predicted potentially top 10, top 15 draft pick until he had some injuries and whatnot in his draft year, and he dropped down in what was a very heavily talented draft. We picked him up at pick 38, and he's come in and looked immediately quite footy intelligent. Obviously, the stuff he said about the club and his knowledge of the club's history through tears on draft night was very, very like, you've got us already, Christian, you sly dog.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But I just love what that says about his intelligence, how he thinks about football, how he lives and breathes football. But he has some game intelligence as well. So that's a great pick by you. Joe Berry's a great pick as well. I'm trying not to go with Joe Berry because I think he's kind of the clubhouse leader idea that we've had. I'd love to say Jack Whitlock, but I think if Ollie Lord's in half decent form and is fit, he's going to be like, up the pecking order. Obviously, Lukosius, if he's fit.
Interesting discussion point.
I think Whitlock might just miss out on seniority if other guys are in decent form, but I think he might get his chances this year. Injuries will probably provide the chances. So I think he's going to get his chances, and he's going to impress in spots. But if fitness isn't an issue for the Port Adelaide side this year, I think Whitlock won't take a leap, just purely out of the fact he won't get the opportunity to. But hopefully he takes a leap at the Sandful level and just dominates, just fucking makes it impossible not to pick him or something like that. But the Whitlock one's an interesting one, because I'd love to pick him because he impressed last year, and I think he's going to impress. But I don't know. I'm struggling to pick another one out of those. I'd like to see. I'm intrigued by how Will Lorenz is utilised this year. That's probably a dark horse pick. I don't know if he's going to be the one that's going to blow the legs off this year, but that's going to be if we're going to take Joe Berry out of the discussion, you picked Christian Moraes. I'm not sure Whitlock's going to get the opportunities consistently. I think he's going to get the opportunities. I think Will Lorenz this year is like, because he's shown signs at different times with some of his game intelligence stuff, and the way that Josh Carr might use him might be intriguing as well. So I'm going to go with Will Lorenz as someone who could, if given the right opportunity. There's a lot of caveats to this pick, but if given the right opportunity and given the room to flourish, I think Will Lorenz could be one that could be an impress us this year, which would be nice, because I think we've all liked a little bit of what we're seeing from Will Lorenz.
Yeah, good shout, and I agree. Yeah, he's received positive reviews from a lot of Port Adelaide fans in the sample size that we got in his first season. He extended upon that, albeit only to a minor extent last season, but still did enough to suggest that, like you said, with enough opportunity, he could find a consistent place and impact on games of football as he gains experience. He's got a nice kick on him. He seems to be in the midfield mix pretty regularly in some of these match sim situations.
Yeah.
So, and again, one of the pack of players who would be vying for that Travis Boak spot that's been vacated. So, interesting pick.
hmm The last question I have for you, and this is a bit of an interesting one. I guess we could remove. I think removing Todd Marshall from the discussion is probably pertinent because he's probably the obvious pick. But maybe more seasoned players that could have a bounce back year, and it's not exactly to say that they were bad in any year, but maybe they just find a new gear or something like that. Whether this idea is very full fleshed and you can have some breathing space with this one, but maybe just a player that's been bubbling along the surface for a couple of years, but isn't it has been around for maybe 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it may be. Just anyone out there that you might be looking to like they could maybe the Josh Carr era could just breathe some new life into.
I'm going to go an interesting one, um, but I think it is in the club's best interest, both on the field and from an off-field PR point of view, if Will Brodie bounces back
That's
from
it.
a career point of view.
That's
Uh,
it. That's a good one.
if he has if he has a half decent season at AFL level, that'd be great. But if he has a good season, that would benefit the club on field because clearly he would be earning his spot and contributing to the club's success, quote unquote, whatever that looks like. But B, it would shut up a few people, both in the fan landscape, AFL fan landscape, but also, yeah, in the media as well. So in terms of people bouncing back, I think, like I said, it's in the club's best interest that Will Brodie does just that, and I hope he does. Obviously, we as Port Adelaide supporters, you and I, we love to support first. We may have our critiques, but at the end of the day, I want all of these players that pull on our Guernsey to do well, and that obviously includes Will Brodie.
hmm Yeah, yeah, no, he's a really good pick. I am intrigued by the pick. Obviously, he was picked up for less than a bag of peanuts. It was, was the now famous, obviously free like the traded for pick 103, and then when the draft came around, it's like Fremantle passes on pick 103, whatever the fucking pick was. So yeah, and look,
What is that? Yeah.
he's a player that did have some like he was a sneaky little fantasy pick. The one a couple of years that I played fantasy AFL, I had Will Brodie the year that he was good, and he was not and he was cheap and he was a good little he was like kind of built up the side. So he's had good years in the AFL, or albeit a good year maybe, but yeah, he's Josh Carr, all the things that are going into it would be interesting. It would be great to see him have a good year. I guess I'm maybe going slightly teasing just outside of the first to 4 year players, but I mean, Josh Sinn's one that really intrigues me.
Mm,
That's kind of my one for
nice.
this year. That he's a player that has impressed me immensely at times. Like really, really impressed me with like the way he's prototypically built to be an AFL player. The way his size, his body, he should but he's just through injury and other reasons he's had an indifferent career and still hasn't quite taken off. But he's the one for me that I think. Out of the players that are starting to head into the kind of that senior, mid career kind of years, that's the one that I'd love to see have a breakout year this year. And I think it's available to him. If he injury like this is
Hmm.
all caveated by us believing that they'll have an injury free year. Like that any injuries come in, it just breaks that whole idea. Like, Will Brodie does an ACL or Josh Sin does a collarbone, like these, predictions are fucked. But all those things being equal, I'd love to see Josh Sin have a injury-free year because I don't know if he's had one yet, and really kind of break into the side regularly and actually show us what like he was a high draft pick of 5 years ago, 5 6 years ago now, and he's a player that I still have a lot of hope in because I think his raw skills and some of his game intelligence that has been building over the last couple of years can be quite an integral part to the side if it can all come together. So yeah, that would be my pick there. It's really interesting list dynamic we have, there's a lot of youth there. There's a lot of guys in the mid tier, and then there's some guys that you just like, yeah, no, they're good anyway. So it's a interesting exercise to make. I could have gone, there's a few other players you could have maybe picked. Lockie Jones is an interesting one as well, but he's got some injuries coming into this year already. Kane Farrell's one. I don't think had a bad year last year, but I'd still like him to see him take the next step. But I think he's at an okay point in his career as well anyway, so I didn't want to do any criticism there. So, Josh Sinn's the one I'm really kind of keying in on there. Any other? I don't have any other particular points, but do you have any other crazy thoughts or predictions to go into this year before we close off for the evening?
There was something just coming up in between the two kind of broader segments of tonight's
Yeah.
episode about, the list clogger kind of tag that certain individuals are kind of placing. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of fan sort of opposition clubs trying to kind of hang shit on us before the season gets underway. And depending on how we start the season, which considering our fixture, it is quite promising if we get our ducks in a row. But
I've already seen the 4-0 chat popping up on the various Facebook groups.
We're always hopeful of that.
Yeah.
And as I have said the last couple of years since being on the pod with you, those early season wins are worth their weight in gold because everyone across the whole competition, whether it be grand finalists, the premier, the wooden spoon, everyone's figuring their shit out in the first six weeks, I believe. So if you can snag as many wins as possible, that's what gets you ahead for the rest of the year. So 4-0 would be fucking sensational. But what I would give to everyone listening or watching on YouTube, thanks for everyone tuning in, by the way. If you do hear the list clogger tag, I put it to you to go look at the 2024 preliminary final team. Put your critical thinking hat on and just look how similar that is to what our best 23 could potentially be. Obviously, there's about 6 players, I think, 7 players maybe, who are different or retired, moved on, etc., etc. But just take a look at that side and what it could mean for our side this year, our best 23 this year, in terms of how we could potentially perform if we're fit, if the players we expect to be in form are. Because there has been a lot of denigration of our list and whatnot, but our team is still chock full of guns, and our spine still looks as healthy as ever. So that's kind of what I thought about. I posted about it in I think a similar chain to my best 23 posts on Twitter for anyone who's interested to look at that. But yeah, when you jovially mentioned the list clogger tag of our team moving between segments tonight, and I thought about that. So just wanted to leave that with everyone. Go check out that team. Play around with it in your own mind. I think there's Charlie Dixon on one leg that night, and I think Ryan Burton played in that team. Travis Boak, obviously, who all aren't there, plus some others, and just play around with who you think can fill those spots who weren't already playing, and how that looks for our season 2026. Because in my opinion, if everyone's fit and firing, that's what kind of drives the hope for me, on top of obviously the training the house down footage that we're all seeing at the moment.
Yeah. I'll leave the podcast with one more Liverpool klaxon. When Jurgen Klopp took over the Liverpool side and then brought in players like Andy Robertson from Hull City and Gini Wijnaldum came in from a relegated Newcastle United side. Jordan Henderson was there, having been brought in from Sunderland, and no one really thought much of him. Trent Alexander-Arnold came up from the academy. You got players from Hull City and relegated sides, and they all ended up going on to win the Champions League and the Premier League in dominating fashion. So it's all about what you can do with players that clearly have some talent and just put them in the right situation, the right coaching, see what can happen. And I'm not going to say anything fantastic is going to happen and we're going to win it all this year, but there's some talent in this side. There's some incredible players in this side. Like we've got some of the best and most exciting players in the competition in this Port Adelaide side, whether it be Zach Butters, Connor Rosie, Mitch Georgiades, Jason Horn-Francis, all Australian back line with the likes of Alira. There's a spine to this side that is very, very exciting. There's some great young talent in this side. There's some, Island of Misfit Toys kind of recruitment going on, but that can be very, very, very enlightening if you get the right guys like your Andy Robertsons and Ginny White Adams. So there's exciting times ahead, and with a coaching group like this, I'm very, very excited. So yeah, looking forward to getting into it this year with you, Jamie. This is the first episode, obviously very, very light, but I think we've actually gotten some nuts and bolts of it that I wasn't expecting. So I've been really, really excited by this. So very, very excited to get into it with this year with you, Jamie.
Yeah, we can't help ourselves, honestly. Getting into X's and O's chat, that's kind of what has brought us together those years ago, obviously. And just if I can hand it back to the listeners and viewers, if you do love or enjoy what we do, we'd love to get into the ears and eyes of more people, to discourse to the community that we obviously enjoy being a part of and that we try to build. So if you enjoy what we do, please recommend it to one person that you know that enjoys port content, and that could go a long way to us reaching more people that are into this type of thing and want to hear some couple of nuffies' opinions on football, because we're obviously committed to doing what we do, getting better at it, and continuing hopefully in a fruitful season 2026. So we appreciate all the support that we get, obviously, and coming into a new season fresh. Over to you guys.
Absolutely. Can't wait to get into it with you, Jamie, and with all of you that are listening this year in 2026. It's really exciting times ahead. Start the fucking car. Car the pair. Good night, everybody.
See you guys.